Welcome everyone to our webinar. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Today we're going to talk about the personal statement, which is an important part of the college application. So with summer just around the corner, if there are any juniors in here or juniors here attending the webinar, it's a great time to start thinking about writing or starting your personal statement. So if you are a junior here with us tonight, you're already on the right track. So congratulations. So let's get started. So my name is Antonia Estrada, and I'm the program coordinator at Uprooted Academy. I just want to say a few words about who we are before we get started. At Uprooted Academy, we want students to feel courageous, confident, and competitive when they apply to college. That's why we are ruthless in our pursuit to alleviate the anxiety and confusion around the college selection and application process. And that's why we're here today. After this evening's presentation, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a few minutes to fill out a quick survey. Your opinions and feedback are important to us to help us improve future programming. And by filling out a survey, you'll have a chance to win a $25 gift card. This is a webinar, so I want to make it as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A, and I can answer them as I go along. You don't have to wait till the end, but if you do want to wait till the end, that's fine. I'm happy to answer them also at the end of the presentation. So what's on the agenda for today? So we're going to talk about what is a personal statement. We're going to look at the essay prompts on the Common App. We're going to talk about choosing your essay topic, revising and finalizing essays, and also the use of AI and guidelines around that for your personal statement. So by the end of today, I hope that you feel empowered to tackle this part of the college application with the tips and guidelines that we'll be providing. So just a quick overview of the different components of the college application. So you have the application form itself, where you put in your personal information, your high school details, your family background. You have the transcript, which is probably the most important part of your college application. It has the classes you've taken, your GPA, your class rank, if that's something that your school provides. You have your list of extracurricular activities, your involvement in clubs and sports, part-time work, etc. You have letters of recommendation, typically from teachers, counselors, or mentors. You have standardized test scores if you choose to submit them to test optional schools or you're applying to schools in which standardized test scores are required. And then finally, you have the essays. You have the personal essay, which we're going to talk about in this workshop, and supplemental essays. So if you apply via the Common App, which most of you probably will, you will write one personal essay, a maximum of 650 words, chosen from among 7 different prompts. This is for the Common App. You may also have to write supplemental essays, which are short answer essays specific to whatever schools you're applying to. The more selective schools will ask you to write at least one, sometimes more supplemental essays. Supplemental essays are just as important as the personal essay, but they tend to be more straightforward. Why do you want to study this major, or why do you want to attend this school? So we're going to focus this workshop or this session on the personal essay only, because that tends to be, I think, a little bit more confusing for people than the supplemental essays, which, as I said, tend to be more straightforward. So let's talk about why your college personal essay is so important. So first, your grades, your test scores, they tell part of your story, but they don't tell the whole story, right? You're more than just your transcript. The essay is your chance to share who you really are, to give colleges context as to who you are outside of your grades and test scores. Second, the essay is your opportunity to take control of how you are seen by the admissions team. Again, they're going to be seeing your transcripts, your letters of recommendation from your teachers and counselors. But with the essay, you get to decide what you want the admissions officers to know about you, written in your own words. So ask yourself, what do you want colleges to know about you? And finally, colleges are interested in your personal story, especially how you've grown or overcome challenges. High school is a time of great personal growth, right? We know that. As your juniors now, you've changed and grown a lot since freshman year. So colleges want to hear about the journey that has brought you to this point. So take your time and see the essay not merely as a writing assignment that you have to do, but as an opportunity to share your story, an opportunity for the admissions committee to hear from you and not just hear about you. So the personal statement or personal essay is what it's called on the Common App. The Common App, you see a screenshot here, is probably the most widely used application in the US, used by over 1,000 colleges. So some of the guidelines that we're sharing with you today, not only applicable to the Common App essay, but are also applicable to other college application essays, such as the UC personal insight questions. So you can use a lot of the same tips and tricks here for those essays as well. As I said here, you can see a screenshot of a student's dashboard on the Common App, a screenshot of the writing section. So some colleges require submission of the personal essay with your Common App. You may submit a personal essay to any college, even if it isn't required by that college. If it's not required by the college, you will be given the option when you submit your application to include your essay or not for that college. So you can see here just two examples of colleges on this dashboard. One is University of Southern California, which does require the personal essay, and one is Clemson University, which does not. So depending on the colleges that you choose to apply to, they will appear in either one column or the other, whether they require the personal essay or they don't. So what we're seeing here on this slide is the full set of personal essay prompts for the Common App for last year. So the Common App opens on August 1st. Typically, the prompts remain the same. Usually, if any changes occur, it's just to one or two prompts. So for the personal essay, the Common App has a list of 6 prompts that you can see here to choose from, and a 7th prompt that lets you write about anything you want. It's open-ended. So you choose one. A maximum is 650 words. If you have an experience that fits really well with one of the 6 specific prompts, you can feel free to write about it. But the 7th prompt might be the easiest to complete because it's open-ended. So let's just look at the first prompt. Let's just read that aloud as an example. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. So basically, they're asking you to share a story that makes you, you. Prompt number 2 is about overcoming an obstacle. Prompt number 3 is about questioning a belief. Prompt number 4 is about gratitude. Prompt number 5 is about a period of personal growth. Prompt number 6 is about a topic, idea, or concept that makes you lose all track of time. And finally, as I said, prompt number 7 is basically a topic of your choice. So let's talk now about selecting your college essay topic. So you'll want to consider an essay prompt as more than just a question needing an answer, right? Look at it as a starting point for telling a story. So if the prompt asks about a challenge you faced, like prompt number 2 in the Common App, we saw here, it's about a challenge. It isn't just about the challenge itself, right, that you're going to write about, but about who you are and how you responded to that challenge. So you should pick a story from your life that best shows how you overcame that challenge that you're going to write about. You don't need, contrary to popular belief, you don't need a unique essay topic. It doesn't matter which topic you choose, as long as it's meaningful to you. If it's important to you, it's worth writing about. So write about what's important to you, not what you think the admissions officer wants to read about. Because what the admissions committee is really interested in is your personal journey, the lessons you learned, the personal growth you experienced, and the maturity that you gained. And finally, the most important thing that you should remember is that the most important thing in your essay is you. You're the main character. You're the hero of your story. So your own experiences, your thoughts and reflections are what will make your essay special. So make sure your essay is not about someone or something else. You can write about family or friends that have influenced you. That's okay. But when you do that, make sure that the whole essay isn't about that person. So imagine you're talking about how your grandma was an important figure in your life. That's great if she's amazing. But remember, colleges want to know about you, not her, right? You're the one applying to college. So if you talk about how your grandma influenced you or any other person, important person in your life, focus on what you've done with that influence, not just on your grandma, for example. So keep that in mind when you're writing, that you're the main character in your story. So let's talk about how to select your college essay topic. So a little bit more about that. So when you're choosing the topic, remember step number one, share a personal story from your life. So start by choosing a moment from your life that really stands out to you. Maybe it's a challenge you faced, a success you achieved, or a moment that changed how you see things. What have you chosen to spend time on, for example? What are you proud of? I wrote my college essay 40 years ago, and I still remember what I wrote it about because even though it happened when I was 16, it was something that I was very proud of, and I still get a little emotional thinking about it. So think about that, a moment in your life when you're really proud about yourself, and a moment that you felt good about yourself, because that's probably something worth talking about. Next, reflect on what you learned from that moment or experience. So once you have your story, think about what it taught you. Did it change your perspective, teach you a valuable lesson, or help you grow as a person? So write about how that experience shaped who you are today. And finally, explain why what you learned matters. So connect those lessons you learned to your values and goals. Why does it matter to you, and how does it inform your future? So you can think of it as answering the question, so what, right? Why does this story matter, and what does it say about you? So let's look next at 3 examples of potential essay topics. So as you see here, we're gonna just quickly go over them. So one, just an example, these might not necessarily apply to you, just to give you an idea. One could be about a student who struggled with public speaking, volunteered to lead a group project, and learned to overcome their fear to successfully present their findings. Example essay topic number 2, how a teacher's encouragement in a writing class helped the student discover a love for creative writing. And then the sample essay topic number 3, how coping with a significant family change, such as a move, taught valuable lessons in adaptability and empathy. So as you see here, these topics themselves aren't necessarily unique, right? Many students have likely been in similar situations, like a move or struggled with public speaking. But what will make your essay special is how you approach and reflect on the topic, because no two people experience challenges or growth in exactly the same way. So it's all about sharing your own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. That's what makes your essay unique. A common piece of advice that you may have heard is that if your application essay, were lying on the floor of your high school, the floor of the hallway in your high school, it didn't have your name on it, someone should be able to pick that up and read the essay and say, oh yeah, this is Antonia's essay, or this is John's essay. So think of it that way when you write your essay, or when you have a rough draft or have finished it. Is there anyone else who could have written this essay? And if the answer is no, then that's probably a good essay. So now's a good time to stop for a second and ask if there are any questions. No? Okay. So admissions officers read a lot of essays. So it's important to make one yours that you're going to remember. So one way of doing this is what we call show, don't tell. So this means that rather than simply listing your qualities or achievements, you demonstrate them through specific examples. So for example, imagine you want to highlight your leadership skills, right? Instead of simply making a vague statement like, I'm a strong leader, you could show a specific example of a time when you demonstrated strong leadership abilities. So here are some other examples. For example, I am hardworking and curious. Great, right? But how? So then you can actually explain or should actually show how you are hardworking and curious. In this case, after devouring hours of CNN, oh, excuse me, sorry about that, sensitive mouse. After devouring hours of CNN and every New York Times article on the election, I decided to get involved with local politics in my community. For the month leading up to the election in 2012, I spent 2 hours per day knocking on doors with a local nonprofit, registering neighbors to vote and get involved. So you see here that this example, clearly the student is hardworking. They're spending 2 hours a day knocking on doors. They're curious, educating themselves on the election, right? So students actually showing rather than just telling. And you can actually do both. You can tell, you can say, I'm hardworking and curious, but then you have to show it. And in the second example, right, the student here says, I love to dance, I'm good at it, that's great, but show me, right? So then the student shows, gives that specific example, that specific anecdote. I won my first dance competition when I was 12. After years of practice and studying with renowned ballet schools across the country, I began a pre-professional dance program at the School of American Ballet. So again, much more detailed information, really helpful for a reader to get a feel for what you would be like and what difference you would make on their campus when you do go into this level of detail and these types of examples. So now we're going to highlight a common mistake students make in their essays and how to avoid them. So number 1, topics to avoid. So choosing what to write about in your college essay is as important as the writing itself, as we've seen. If you've faced tough times like a death in the family or divorce or a personal tragedy, these are topics that can be challenging to write about. That said, it's okay to share if these experiences have shaped you, but you should remember to focus on how you've grown as a result of these experiences. One really helpful piece of advice that I've heard is, don't write about adversity unless you also have a response to the adversity, which I think is a great tip. Also be careful with sensitive topics like politics or religion. You want to show how you think, not just what you think. So common mistake number 2 to avoid, focus on a defining moment, not your entire life history. So a common error in college essays is trying to cram in, your entire life story, a timeline of your life into the essay. But the personal statement is not that, it's not a resume, it's not an autobiography. So there just aren't enough words. It's 650 words, so which is really not a lot. So pick a single event or experience, a single one that's been important in shaping who you are today, right? It doesn't have to be a monumental occasion, as we saw some of the sample essay topics, right? Sometimes the most everyday moments can reveal the most about a person's character and goals. So think about it as it's a death, not breath, right? Sometimes these essays are called slice of life essays because it's a small slice of your life, right? Not your entire life. And finally, don't repeat information found elsewhere in the application. Keep in mind that the Common App essay and the supplemental essays work together to give a full picture to the admissions committee, right? They're kind of different pieces of the puzzle. So you shouldn't repeat in your supplemental essays what you've already said in your Common App essay. Think of each essay as a chance to reveal a new part of what makes you, right? Each essay is a snapshot. So make sure that there's not a lot of overlapping information. Okay, so now we're going to talk about revising your essay. So when you're starting the writing process, I encourage you to simply get your thoughts on paper without worrying about it being perfect, right? Put down all your ideas and thoughts on paper, no matter how messy they may seem. Getting the rough draft is often the hardest part of your essay, and the first draft is often called rough for a reason. It's more about brainstorming and capturing those initial ideas. So after you've got your initial ideas down, then you can start refining and editing your essay. So you can expect to go through a few rounds of revision. It's a normal part of the essay writing process. So you're going to be revising multiple times, so make sure you allow time for that. If you're starting your essay now in the summer, that means you're going to have plenty of time to do that. So, you're already off to a good start. Seek feedback from at least one or two people who know you well, like a teacher, a counselor, a family member, to ask them to read your essay. See if they get a good sense of who you are from your essay and how they might sum it up in a sentence or two. Think about whether what they're saying about your essay after they read it matches what you're trying to say about yourself. It's important to be open to feedback, but it's equally important to stay true to your voice. So if you don't fully agree with the suggestions that they're saying, that's okay. After all, it's your essay and it should reflect your authentic self. But do make sure that at least one person reads it, ideally two. Remember to proofread, to check for any grammatical or spelling errors in the final draft. Remember, colleges want, or you want to show colleges, that you're a competent writer. It is an essay after all. Spelling mistakes, you can use Grammarly or spell check. But it's also a good idea to print out the essay to catch typos and other errors. Sometimes when you've been looking at the screen for a long time, you can't catch those errors. But, if you print it out and maybe, take it with you while you're waiting for the bus, your essay on paper, you might be able to catch an error that you didn't catch on the screen. And finally, make sure that the essay is clear and gets the point across without any confusion. The essay should flow smoothly. A really good idea is to read your essay out loud to someone else or even to yourself in front of a mirror. So, if the listener, when you're reading it out loud to someone, if that person can follow along easily and grasp the main points, then you know that the essay has good clarity and flow. And I think Chromebook also has like a built-in screen reader in which the computer can read the essay aloud to the student. I'm not quite sure about that, but if not, just read your essay out loud in front of a mirror, see if it flows well, see if the words that you're saying make sense to you, if those are the words that that you would say. So I think that's really, really important tip to do when you have a final draft of your essay. So now we're going to talk about a little bit about brainstorming, which is when you actually get started writing your essay. Brainstorming about your personality traits and the characteristics you'd like the essay to show is a good place to begin. So let's just look at a simple brainstorming exercise that you can do to get started, right? There are lots of brainstorming exercises out there. This is just a simple one that you can use. So first, think about 3 to 5 adjectives that best describe you and your values. So are you determined? Are you creative? Are you responsible? Are you empathetic? Whatever you think best describe you. And you want to focus on illustrating positive traits the admissions committee might be looking for. So look back at your life and experiences to pick the qualities that make you who you are, right? If you're having trouble, ask your friends or family, how would you describe me? What 3 adjectives would you use to describe me? You might be surprised what they come up with. Second, think of a personal story or experience that reflects each of those adjectives you showed, right? You chose, whether where you showed or developed that quality, right? So you imagine, did you demonstrate determination in overcoming a challenge, or creativity, or analytical skills in solving a problem? Choose a story that really shows that side of you that you're trying to portray. And finally, next, the third step is write 1 to 2 paragraphs for each of those stories, right? Notice, which story is easiest to write about, which story is like, kind of like, oh yeah, I can write a lot about this. So the story that flows naturally might be, the best one to focus on in your essay. So remember, when you're brainstorming, it takes time. It's a hard process, so don't feel rushed. If writing and staring at a blank page feels overwhelming, and that feels overwhelming to me when I'm looking at a blank page and know that I have to fill it up, then I think a really good suggestion that I can make is try recording yourself talking about your experiences instead, right? Just grab your phone, go somewhere, sit on a bench, lie on the grass, and just start talking about what it is that you think you might want to write about in your essay, right? About experiences that stand out in your mind. Recording's great because it lets you capture your thoughts in a more organic way. Right? It's easier to just simply talk than it, is actually to put the words on paper. So, and after you record your thoughts, you can then write those thoughts down on paper, which is perfect because that's what you want to do, right? You want to write how you speak, like a 17 or an 18-year-old. And there's really no better way of doing that than, transcribing the thoughts that you've recorded onto paper. So if you are feeling stuck, as I said, just take the phone, go sit outside somewhere where you feel relaxed. Like I said, maybe lie down on the grass and start recording. Just start talking about, what those 3 to 5 adjectives or stories that are important in your life and see what comes out. This is just an example of some, that you can use to brainstorming a list of positive traits or qualities that you might have, just to kind of, if you're kind of stuck, as you see here, these are all positive traits, right? This is what you want to show, whether you're adaptable, ambitious, persuasive, sociable, well-rounded, resourceful, etc. Right? This is just to give you an idea of, those 3 to 5 adjectives that you might want to, come up with when you're thinking about those that best define who you are. Okay, so as we as I come to the end of the presentation, we're going to look briefly at how we can use AI to help us write the personal essay. So notice that I said help us write and not actually write it for us. So we can use AI in the brainstorming process. So as I said before, if you feel stuck and unable to start writing, you can come do this brainstorming exercise that we talked about, or you can use AI to come up with a list of potential topics to get, your creative juices flowing. So this is just a sample prompt. This prompt will, obviously be different for you depending on what your, of who you are. But this is just one that I came up with so that I can show you then what the output AI comes up with. So this prompt, I'm interested in environmental science and want to write my Common App personal essay about it. Can you help me brainstorm some unique angles or experiences to explore, right? Simple prompt, right? Again, this will vary depending on you, right? So you can see here, I put in the prompt and I get all these, unique angles that I can use. So let's just choose the first one. Let's just, I'll say it out loud so that you can see an example of what it came up with. And it says, the first one, personal transformation, reflect on a specific moment or experience that sparked your interest in environmental science. Maybe it was a camping trip where you witnessed the impact of pollution on nature firsthand, or perhaps a documentary that opened your eyes to environmental issues. Discuss how this experience changed your perspective and led you to pursue further study in the field. Right, so this is just one of these angles. There are many more here, but you might come across that and say, hey, yeah, I remember that camping trip. That's what really, made me interested in environmental science. I'd forgotten about that. Or yeah, oh, sorry about that again. No, there we are. So, this can give you, again, you're kind of stuck looking at that blank page. This can give you ideas that kind of like, get that brainstorming started. So here's the thing though, right? So simply copying the responses that AI generates and passing them off as your own would be considered plagiarism. So, it's great for brainstorming, but don't copy and paste, any of the output. And just think about it. So AI, like ChatGPT, it learns, right? This is a model that learns from existing text. It's learned from 300 billion words on the internet. So it doesn't, it doesn't generate truly original ideas, right? It's unoriginal, number one. Also, the way it works is by predicting the most likely words to follow in a sentence. That's how it works. So it's predictable. So it's unoriginal and predictable. Now, who wants their personal statement to be unoriginal and predictable? No one, right? So, don't copy and paste what, AI has produced for you. Think of AI as a starting point to spark your creativity, help you write an essay that only you can write, right? So again, help you write it, not actually write it for you. Use it as a tool to generate ideas, but make sure you express your own unique voice and originality in your writing, right? Everyone now has used AI to write. So if you have, you could probably spot AI a mile away, an AI generated text. It's very easy to spot. It tends to use the same words again and again. So just make sure you use it to brainstorm, but not to actually write anything for you. Some schools have specific guidelines around using AI and writing your personal essay. If you're applying to a school, you might want to go to the website and see if they have any specific guidelines. Here are some guidelines from Georgia Tech as an example. In the same way you would not copy directly from any other source, you may incorporate into the writing process. You should not copy and paste directly out of any AI platform or submit work that you did not originally create. Instead, approach and consider any interaction with an AI tool as a learning experience that may help you generate ideas, provide alternative phrasing options, and organize your thoughts. Ultimately, we want to read and hear your unique and valuable writing style. So that's Georgia Tech. Caltech, its guidelines are a little bit more restrictive. It actually has a lot more than what you see here. But this is like a general guideline that I think could be applicable to any school. So Caltech, its general guideline is, if you are still wondering whether your use of AI in crafting your application is ethical, ask yourself whether it would be ethical to have a trusted adult perform the same task you are asking of ChatGPT. Would a teacher be able to review your essay for grammatical and spelling errors? Of course. Would that same teacher write a draft of an essay for you to tweak and then submit? Definitely not. So I think it's a really good question to ask yourself when you're using AI. Would I have a teacher do this? Would I have a counselor do this? If the answer is no, then you probably should not be using AI to do that task. So that is it for me in terms of the presentation. Don't know if there are any questions out there. Okay, so let me just then go on. A few, I guess, things I want to mention before we end. We collaborate with Matriculate, which is a national nonprofit that provides free virtual college advising to eligible high schoolers. Students are matched one-on-one with a trainee or peer college mentor. So the class of 2025 application is now open for this program. And Matriculate will be reviewing applications on a rolling basis until August. So there are certain eligibility requirements that you have a GPA of 3.5 or higher, have an annual family income of less than $90,000, attend high school in the US, and so on. So feel free to go to the website, matriculate.org, check out the eligibility requirements, see if you're eligible, and if so, apply. It's a great, they'll be able to help you also with your essay, give you further guidance. Finally, at the fairopportunityproject.org, another nonprofit, you can get a detailed feedback on your application essay for free. So please note that this service is available only for first-generation lower-income students. They especially strive to reach rural students. You can find more information on their website. So when you do have that essay draft, you can submit it to them, and they'll review it and give you feedback. So again, if there's any Q&A. Okay. Well, again, thank you very much for joining tonight. Hope that we've been able to provide you with some guidance as to how to write your personal essay. Encourage you to get started, during the summer, and you have lots of time to do it in a relaxed way. And please also check out our blogs for tips and tricks. So we have several blogs on the college application essay, the personal statement, and also some on supplemental essays. So be sure to check those out, in addition to the other free resources that you can find on our website. So thank you very much for attending our webinar, and we hope to see you at future events. Yes, it will. Um, the question here is, will recording? Yes. Okay, great. So, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for having attended. Have a good evening or afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from.